Hi, everyone, and welcome to MeisterPlan's Outgrow Excel webinar. I'd like to thank you all for joining. My name is Casey Babcock, and I'm the facilitator of today's session. On the call today, we have Caroline Hulicki, who is the Director of Product Marketing and has been at MeisterPlan for 6.5 years. She has over 15 years of experience in multiple industries, including financial services, software, engineering, and oil and gas. Also on the call today is Debbie Somerville, who's MeisterPlan's Director of Customer Success in our AAP region. Previous to her position at MeisterPlan, Debbie actually started a brand new IT PMO for her company, which later evolved into an enterprise PMO. Her experiences range from software product management to resource and project management. I'd like to really thank Debbie and Caroline for being on the call.
Thanks. Happy to be here.
So today's session is going to be slightly different than some of the other webinars we've hosted in the past because we actually recorded a conversation that Debbie and Caroline had last week on the topic of Outgrow Excel. So I'm going to suggest that we take a little time machine back a week to see what you both had to say. And then after that, we can answer some live questions. Does that sound good to everyone?
Sounds awesome.
Sounds good. Cool. Well, then we'll jump right into that video.
Hi, Debbie. It's great to be here with you today to talk about the trends that we see in our industry. In my experience working with PMOs, I've heard oftentimes that they use a homegrown Excel-based solution for portfolio management. And that fact was reinforced by Barry Cousins from Infotech Research Group. With his research, he found that 46% of companies who have a PPM solution use a homegrown solution. So my question for you, Debbie, is why do you think companies gravitate toward Excel when they're building a PMO or initiating portfolio management?
Excel is super easy to start with. So many people are already familiar with it. And when a company is just starting their portfolio management, their first step is usually taking an inventory of all projects that are being worked on. And Excel is a perfect spot to begin this exercise. Another reason companies start with Excel is that a budget is not required. So again, Excel is a great starting point for any PPM journey.
Right, I agree with you. Excel is easy to use. We're all very familiar with it, and you can really accomplish a lot with it. Now, going back to my conversations with PMOs, though, oftentimes when they talked about their homegrown solution, they were looking to move away from it. So why do companies outgrow their spreadsheet-based PPM solutions, or what are their pain points when they're using Excel for portfolio management?
Caroline, in my experience, companies will outgrow Excel when they need to add more value to their organization and they realize Excel no longer can efficiently help them scale to those new challenges. While companies may experience different pain points using Excel, here are three that are pretty typical. Pain point number one, not being able to set realistic start dates, meaning you've been asked to do 5 more projects, of course, all right away. Looking for the best option is impossible with Excel. Now, Excel can do a decent job visualizing the overall capacity and even the demand. The step beyond just knowing there's a capacity problem is making decisions on what to do about it. The ability to create what if scenarios is a critical PPM function and is too complex to do with Excel. Pain point number two, getting ready for the planning cycle takes a high level of effort to keep the data updated. The impact is the planning cycle takes longer than necessary and important decisions are delayed. And pain point number three, I can best summarize as challenges with scaling. As Excel gets more complex with macros and formulas, it limits who has the expertise to keep it updated. Then add to that the challenge when multiple people are working in the same spreadsheet. Excel can be very error prone, and these challenges prevent more people from leveraging the information direct.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that totally makes sense. So if a PMO or a portfolio manager is experiencing these roadblocks, what can they do to overcome them?
Well, I would suggest taking time to research a PPM solution before it becomes a crisis, or at least before budget time. There are a ton of options out there with ranging price points and different functionality. When researching new software tools, there are a few considerations that everyone should keep in mind. First is to be clear on what pain points you have and prioritize the most important to solve. I'm not talking about the long wish list. Instead, think about your pain points, like the 3 I mentioned above. Reflect on what happened over the last 12 months. What got in the way of achieving the best portfolio value? What got in the way of keeping to a budget? Also consider pain points within the team, like decreasing morale because the workload is too much, or project focus keeps shifting. Cost is the second consideration. Beyond the yearly cost of the software itself, consider if you will need hardware costs and add the estimated implementation costs, both internal time it will take to implement as well as the consulting services. Compare all these costs to the value of the pain points being solved. Third consideration is change management, or said another way, how many team members will need to start using the tool in order for you to start getting the value? Start with a smaller group. It definitely is easier as long as you can still create a big impact. Then increase the tool usage in later phases. The last consideration is knowing how much time it takes to implement with all the people that needs to be included before you start getting value from that tool. So if one implementation takes 6 weeks and the second option takes 6 months, there's definitely value in solving problems quicker.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Debbie. So what you've basically described is a lean PPM solution, which is what MeisterPlan is. Our customers have said that it's really quick to implement, it's easy to use, and they've been able to scale their business with MeisterPlan. So now that we've heard some of the highlights of MeisterPlan, could you show us, Debbie, directly in MeisterPlan some of those features?
Awesome idea, Caroline. Here's MeisterPlan. Portfolio Designer is the primary area where they can see the projects that are being prioritized, and it really makes a single view very interactive where all key decisions can be made. Projects are prioritized in the list, and it has a clear distinction between the projects that must be done, and those are shown above the must-have line, and the projects that are falling below the line. You can see that with the cutoff. The Gantt on the right shows when approved projects are planned. Looking more closely at, say, the mobile sales project, you can see a couple things that really highlight some issues. One, on the Gantt chart itself, you can see a red line above the time periods that there's a problem. It brings your attention very quickly to what needs options or considerations and talking to other team members or groups. The other thing you can see is the resources or roles that are needed for each of these projects. And so in this case, I can change these easily by the time period. If I now need one full FTE, I can easily change it in line, giving a really nice view, I would say, to what the demand is. So these quadrants really work together. So you got the projects and in priority sequence up top, you have the resources and the capacity of those resources below. Notice on the resources, when you see red, that means there's an over allocation, which means there's more work than capacity. And if I were to click into, say, the senior developer role, you can pretty quickly see what is causing that capacity to fill up the senior developer role. And if I highlight where it's red, the mobile sales project cannot be done because I am almost 1 FTE over capacity. As you can see, MeisterPlan provides a real simple way to visualize project effort, yet does not force teams to change the way they work, meaning you can keep their tasks in Excel, Jira, or any other tool of choice. And being able to focus on resource bottlenecks and the availability helps resolve those biggest obstacles to execution, having people ready at the same time to work. Another feature of MeisterPlan is our scenario planning. MeisterPlan has an unparalleled feature for scenarios. You can create multiple scenarios. You can even compare it to an original plan or a different scenario. And what this provides is a snapshot into what your plan looks like today. And in that example, I need to add 5 more projects, and what does that do to my resources? I can do that with this scenario what if snapshot, and it allows me to see many different options before making a final decision. So this scenario planning is a great feature because you can change easily the start date of certain projects. You'd be able to maybe indicate effort should be different on some projects and still be able to compare it to the original plan. A few other things that I would love to show you, Caroline. MeisterPlan supports all relevant stakeholders in the decision-making process. So project managers, they can use, say, this project list to provide a high-level summary of the health of the project, or they can drill into the details of any given project and see where problems may be occurring with time or cost. Another one of our views that is very popular is for resource managers because they care about maximizing their team's productivity without overworking them. The team's planner has a heat map, and it allows them to see these concerns and address the problems based on the work that's assigned to them. So you can see where things are over allocated. You can see where you can still add work to people's plate. You can also drill down to see what projects are taking that time. One of the other real powerful views is our roadmap view, and it allows the portfolio directors to see a quick snapshot of their projects, and you can easily change the grouping on these. So say if you did not want to see it by business goal and instead you needed to see what needed attention, you can quickly change the grouping. You can change the color and maybe see the risk level associated with the ones that need attention, all to help keep the communication informed in a much more easy fashion. A notable call out is that we have inline reporting for MeisterPlan, such as financial reports or capacity utilization by resources. And they're very Excel-like in nature and can be configured and saved within our tool. There's also, as I mentioned before, teams can work in their tool of choice, whether it's Excel, Jira, Microsoft Project. And when you need to bring in information, we have this quick import function that allows you to bring in actual time worked. It can bring in allocations from, say, Project Online. It allows you to combine information in a much more easy way where you can still see the transparency at a portfolio level. Those are the highlights I wanted to show you today, Caroline.
Thanks so much, Debbie. That was a great demo. You really helped us understand today the benefits of starting with an Excel-based homegrown solution, how PMOs can recognize when they're outgrowing that homegrown solution, and then how MeisterPlan can be the next step to lean and effective portfolio management. Thank you.
Wow. Well, thank you, Debbie and Caroline, for those great insights. I think everyone, myself included, learned a lot about MeisterPlan and its functionality from that demo. And now that we're on the live call, I'd love to answer some of the questions that we've gotten during the session. And as a reminder to all of our participants, it's really not too late to submit a question in the questions pane of your GoToWebinar control panel. So the first question that we've gotten for us today says, when trying to set realistic start dates for projects, my organization thinks everything is the highest priority and projects need to start ASAP. How do I show my stakeholders that not everything can start at once? That's a great question.
It is, and it's a pretty typical situation. Let me first say simply, having the facts available really can help answer that question better. And I will, if you don't mind, Casey, share my screen and at the same time of answering this, get into MeisterPlan. Can you see it?
Yep, looks great.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. So really, the question is, we have 5 projects. We need to start maybe right away, and everything's got to go. With the idea that you need to start 5 more projects, and you start seeing the capacity, it gives you a different view of the world. Instead of why can't you just do it, it is, well, I have some constraints. Let me look at some options and be able to see where the bottlenecks are with those options. Maybe being able to delay a certain project, and you can indicate here, gosh, that doesn't help me totally. I still have a problem with that one. Really shifts a conversation from just get it all done to, all right, let's look at what options we have to get it all done.
Yeah, and Debbie, they can also set up project scoring and ranking in MeisterPlan. And the cool thing is you can use your own criteria to set that up. So it's really based on your strategy. And it helps you if you're debating, should we start project A or project B? You can really base it on that criteria and on the facts.
Thanks for that reminder. So true, because having this sequence of projects in a priority sequence doesn't get the who's screaming the loudest kind of issue here. It is, we have the priority sequence pretty clear. And now when we're looking at areas that can't get done, it's the ones with the lower priority that don't have the reservation. So again, showing these facts just helps the argument from why can't you do more to we got to make some tough decisions. What doesn't start right away? Yeah,
absolutely.
Perfect.
Yeah, great answer. Let's hop on to the second question that we've gotten. Does MeisterPlan provide any features to help with project intake and the approval process? We struggle with a seamless solution to do that.
It does. We have two things I would offer for that. One is the feature itself. We have a board view I would highlight first. The board view really is a snapshot of where the projects are at within the stages. A lot of these projects can be in certain stages. You want to see perhaps some overall information, and it allows you to quickly talk about these in that meeting that needs the approvals to happen. And while you're there, you can be indicating they go from one stage to the next pretty easily. You can also indicate pretty easily, notice that must-have line versus the cutoff line way down here. So you could actually prioritize at the same time. It's a pretty cool feature. Some flexibility on what you're seeing here within the cards. The other area MeisterPlan has is what we call a lean PPM framework. The PPM framework allows customers to get into this tool as quick as possible using an approach of what's just enough information to have the decisions readily at your fingertips.
Yeah. The third question is, have you seen success with customers who are not working with a PMO? For example, my team is an IT department. Does MeisterPlan align with this need?
It would. Obviously, having someone like in a PMO help facilitate all the conversations makes it clear, but it definitely is not needed. The tool itself is really a people-centric tool. It's not mandatory that a PMO is the one running it. For example, we have views in here that for resource managers, phenomenal views on being able to say, where's my team working? When are they working? And what's causing that them to be over capacity? And what can I now start doing to talk with other stakeholders on helping to drive some resource leveling? The key with on-time projects is not that project managers aren't doing their role. It's usually, number one, resources not available to get the work done. And that comes from many sources, whether it's support issues or other projects coming into play that were maybe lower priority. This keeps everybody the true north. And this tool, going back to a non-PMO kind of view, only helps that collaboration. So when you think of IT managers coming together, they do that today. It's really just having a tool for visibility so everyone can see the same facts. I've seen before Meister Plan, everyone has their spreadsheet. The spreadsheets aren't linked to anybody else's spreadsheet. So when you're coming to, one of those meetings that I can't do it as a resource manager, the questions are, well, what are you working on? And they're bringing out their long spreadsheets, and then somebody else is bringing out their long spreadsheets, and then they're trying to reconcile when the teams can align. It becomes a mess. So again, this tool just enhances the collaboration. It's just a matter of who's calling the meeting.
Yep. And to add to that, Debbie, for those companies that don't have a designated PMO, you mentioned in the last question the Lean PPM framework, and that can really help out here because companies are, even if they don't have a PMO, they often have a lot of the foundation of what you need to make these decisions and make the process go smoothly. But what the Lean PPM framework does is it helps kind of fill in and make sure that you're having all the meetings you need to have at the right cadence, that the different activities and the different roles, that all of those things are taken care of, and then the process goes really smoothly.
Totally agree. If anything, it's a checklist of, are you thinking of these things? Many of the mature departments are doing these meetings already, and it's really a matter of seeing something to react to. If you don't see what you need to react to, then you're making decisions in a vacuum.
Totally, yeah.
Yeah, so just reiterating what you just said, it sounds like, especially for departments that are not necessarily part of a PMO, Meister Plan might help break down those silos between those departments.
Yes, it stops the question of why can't you do it or just get it done. It's really making a team effort for the priorities at hand to get done together.
Nice. Okay, our fourth question is, you mentioned time to value as a consideration when selecting a PPM or resource management tool. What is the typical implementation timeline for a Meister Plan instance?
And this is being recorded, you're saying, Casey? No. So in our team, we have an implementation plan of attack, and personally, we would like every implementation to be showing value within 45 days. Now, with that said, there are circumstances and differences within every company that comes and wants to implement that would change those factors. One, maybe they don't have any type of PPM process or those meetings that we were just talking about. And so some of the process really should be set up first. Without a good process, a tool doesn't support, it won't be successful. And so I would say we focus on process first. We then look at how to set up the tool for that process. We understand who's going to be part of it. And if you have 2 people, it's a lot easier than if you had 100 people, because each of those groups need to be trained. You need to support them while they're being trained. And so we do look at how can you start pretty quickly, like with a lean mindset. How do you start quickly? How do you get some value out of this? Maybe your first PPM cycle, your approval meeting, visibility for, say, your resource managers, and then start growing within the tool. So while 45 days is our desire, we go in knowing not every case is the same, and we are working with the customer as we start up during the kickoff to set the right expectations.
That's great. Our next question asks, my PMs are very attached to Excel spreadsheets, and I don't see them being happy adopting another tool anytime soon. Is there a way that our team can still use Excel spreadsheets that they love while seeing the benefits of MeisterPlan?
Yes, absolutely. It's not realistic to think that companies are going to completely get rid of Excel and spreadsheets. That's still going to happen. And we totally get that for some of the functions that you're using Excel for, that's still going to happen. If your project managers are comfortable using that, what you can do in MeisterPlan is you can pull that relevant data from those spreadsheets that they're using and use our quick import. And it's literally just like a copy and paste of the data from those spreadsheets. So it's really easy to get the right data into MeisterPlan without making your teams change tools. They can keep working the way they work best, and everybody's happy.
I'll add to that, Caroline. That goes back to that previous question on how many people are getting in at one point. And sometimes it is easier to say, let's do this group first because they're going to get the most value, than add on different groups as you go. The export feature can work for projects. We also have Excel and Google Sheets connections where you can connect and refresh the data directly. So it's not just a point in time. You can actually do a refresh like a pivot table. So we have that available. And if they do at one point come in here, even if it's for one view, it could still add some value. And so we have this project list that for project managers tends to be a really great function where you can configure what you want to see in this view that makes sense for you as you're kind of looking at it as a project manager. And I've seen a lot of project managers go in here to say, you know what, I want to make sure someone else knows about my projects in terms of when I need attention. So they're willing to come in here and fill in a few different fields, make sure their notes are up to date. So a portfolio view of awareness is really impactful. It saves them some time, actually, that they don't have to keep sending out some Excels.
That's always good.
Excuse me. I know. And so even if you got them started with one view, it could definitely help if it, is beneficial for, say, the executives who are coming in here and looking at it.
Yeah, definitely a walking before you run kind of a situation.
I agree.
Yeah. Great. Well, that's all the questions that we have for today. But as a quick reminder to everyone watching, you can always rewatch the session by following the link in our follow-up email or just via our website. Our questions to this Q&A portion will also be posted on our blog, so feel free to check that out if you need a little refresher. So thank you all for joining, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you so much, Casey and Debbie.
Thanks, Casey. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.